an excellent question.
They're clamoring to get in.
Watch this.
They're cla-
Lisa, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good.
All right, here comes Melissa. And looks like Peter and Jason.
All right. And I know Roseanne emailed me and said she wanted that one specific item added, just the updates. Projects, Nathan listed the art dye, continued funding, an update on that, and the boat harbor. So we'll see if she joins here in a minute. If not, we'll go ahead and get started. Hi, Peter.
Hey, Brandon.
Hey.
If there's anything that funny, Derek, we want to hear it.
Well, the water is turned off in the fitness center right now.
Oh.
And so I was letting them know not to use the toilet.
Okay. Hi, Melissa.
Hey. Don't mind me getting my setup going here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
And I know either
Here
Peter's
comes
muted.
Rosanna, I think.
Yeah, is Rosanna coming?
There you go.
Oh, there she is. Hey, Rosanna.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Rosanna.
Hi, how are you, Scott?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
Doing
And
fine.
somebody on an iPhone wants in. Should we let him in?
Sure. Might be Nathan. I don't know. Is Nathan on there?
I guess maybe it could be Jason.
How about
Mike-
Ken?
Oh, it's Jason.
Okay.
It would better let him in.
Yep.
Just turned sideways.
All right. We'll go ahead and get started and see if Nathan jumps in.
Okay, so
Um,
I'm gonna start the recording and we're live on YouTube. So if you've ever wanted to be followed on YouTube, we're on.
All right.
Okay, there you go.
All right. Yeah, welcome everybody. I left the meeting early back in March, and that was much a training meeting as it was anything else. And we don't have minutes of that. I think somebody recorded it, but there were no action items. The only thing we voted on was a meeting in April that we did not have because of the coronavirus. So there are no minutes to approve. I think, let me look at the agenda real quick. I think the first thing up is an update on this. I sent everybody an email with an attachment of the governor's plan and the phases. And in the governor's plan, we're in the orange phase, but there's no requirement by law that any city lessen the restrictions, or I mean, follow his guidelines as far as the restrictions go, other than they can't loosen them up, but they can stay in red type of restrictions if they feel their city needs that or not. And if that's not your interpretation, either Barbara or Derek, you can let me know. That right? Okay.
That's as I understand them.
So And as far as I know, at the facility I work at, we have a therapy pool. We opened it up for 2 days and then the health department called and said, nope, don't open the pools. We're probably not gonna open those until we're at level yellow. Is that the information you got, Derek?
So with orange, we can open lap swimming for swimming pools. So one
Okay.
lap swimmer per lane, but no other swimming activity.
All right, but there aren't plans to do that until the bubble's off and the rec center's ready to go, right?
Correct. So right now, yeah, I can give a quick update now. Our plans to take the bubble off on Monday, which is the 18th. And our goal date is to open the facility on May 28th with restrictions that fit within the governor's reactivation plan. And then look to June to open any other, hopefully we get to yellow to be able to open up the leisure pool and the swimming portion of the big pool. So,
Okay. Any other questions about the pool from the committee?
Yeah, I have a question. So the 18th Monday is when you're removing the bubble. The 28th, Derek, is that when you said you're gonna open it up for just lap swimming?
so the 28th is when we would open the facility and the pool for lap swimming. Yep. And
Okay.
I need to get confirmation from the city administrator that that's still our date. Today is 2 weeks out. So today he's supposed to tell us yes, go for it. So if I get that confirmation tonight, we'll send out an email and open the facility and the pool on the 28th.
With the facility being open, does that mean you'll have exercise classes resume and just have some kind of social distancing in place, or will there not be classes?
Yeah, so there will be classes with social distancing. So less people will be allowed into the classes in the areas. And then we've taken equipment and moved it around in the facility. So there's, ellipticals out on the track and things all over the place. So that everybody has a little more, has the required social distancing.
Okay. Is there
Derek?
gonna be,
Oh,
oh,
Go ahead.
go ahead, Barbara.
No,
that
it was me. It was Lisa.
Oh, sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
So first question is there a way that you're going to let the public know how you're limiting? Like, is it so many people in the building at a time and you have to sign up, or is it just first come, first serve and social distance?
Yeah, so we are going to take the approach of first come, first serve. I've watched both, some people reserving and some people first come, first serve. Interesting, the demand hasn't been as big as most facilities thought it would be right out of the gate. So the reservations haven't been necessary yet. So we will limit the number of people in each area. Like in the cardio room, there can be 23 people. On the track, there can be 12 people. So we'll have the different areas. And when people check in, they'll get a water bottle with sanitizer in it. And once all the water bottles are gone for that specific area, then the area is full. And then when they come back, we would let the next people go.
So, so are you going to limit? I'm sorry, I'm just asking because lots of people have asked. Are you limiting once people can go in? Like you can be in there for a half hour, or you can be in there as long as you want, or how do
90
you handle
minutes.
the waiting list of people who are there and want to get in?
90 minutes for the facility and 60 minutes for the pool.
Okay. And then have you, as a city, decided at all about youth sports?
No. So youth sports, obviously we're still in orange. Most youth sports are yellow when we can actually be playing. So we've canceled soccer. We're holding on to baseball.
Okay, soccer and baseball.
No, we've not canceled baseball yet. We're holding on to baseball. We think we could do a June, July program with baseball, but that would require us to go to yellow. And then the other summer programs, we would just push back, like tennis, golf, skate camp.
Itty bitty ball.
Yeah,
all
we
of
would just
those.
keep pushing those, hoping to get to yellow. So.
Okay.
So yeah, baseball is kind of the big one that we're sitting on right now. We just met with the other recreation departments and in our area, and we're all trying to hold on to that one.
Okay, Rocky Mountain was supposed to start and they didn't either.
Yeah, and that's maybe a side note. The challenge for them is the cities have said if it's not safe for our programs to play, we're not going to rent fields to other organizations. So I think they've had a hard time finding field space.
So they've been practicing on all of our fields, but I haven't seen any games.
Yeah.
Or we haven't been to the point that Spanish Fork needed to like close the baseball fields. And I think they closed their pickleball courts because they opened those up and they weren't social distance.
Yeah, we haven't. Jason might know more. We're just hoping the people are smart so we can keep everything open. There is a lot of people practicing. There is, which you're allowed to do if you do it the right way. Pickleball obviously is open. We just hope people social distance so Jason doesn't have to go out there and do that.
Right. Well, and I think this will go along with anybody that's watched the national news and just seen things around town. We went out to eat and actually dined in at Rumby. We were the only people dining in at Rumby that Friday when they opened it up for dine-in. And there are going to be quite a few people that are still afraid to go out, even though these things will open up. I think that's why Derek said some of the other areas or facilities that have opened up haven't been overloaded with people rushing to get back because of their different level of anxiety and fear about the COVID virus. So,
And to that note, Derek and Jason, thank you for keeping our parks open. It is the one thing for our youth that is saving them, especially Martin Park and the basketball court. Like, it's great. Pickleball is great. They're up at the junior high playing tennis. It's something physical that they can do at least outside. So as a parent and community, thank you.
yes, we really appreciate it. I'm sure, have you gotten any complaints from anybody about too many people in the park, too many people in pickleball courts, the sign on the playground at the north end of Art Dye not being up and kids playing on it and stuff like that?
You know, I didn't think the signs would last very long, and some have, some haven't. For the most part, people have been good. We have had complaints about, we've got a team that practices at Beehive on a regular basis. You know, and for the most part, people have been really good, but it's kind of been interesting, the renewed appreciation for open spaces and parks. I mean, our parks have been inundated with people, and that's a good thing. That's what they're there for. Pickleball was kind of interesting. People, when we took down the nets, people just brought their own nets and played anyway. It was definitely less people, but for the most part, it's been good. We didn't really have the philosophy that we're going to go out and police those things. Just those signs were more of just to maybe get people thinking and you know, let them make that choice on their own. But you know, there have been some people on playgrounds, but you know, for the most part, it's been really good. So,
Are the playgrounds opening part of the yellow, or is that kind of up to the city, or what?
you know what? I'm not sure. I just kind of get told to open this or open that, and Derek may know more on that. I know we've kind of opened pavilions. You know, just took the signs down basically. You know. But you know, restrooms are still closed, and we still have our signs up at our playgrounds. Restrooms, I'm not sure. I'm very, you know, that one's up in the air when a park restroom might open up. So that one I have concerns, you know, for my staff, plus, you know, anyone using one too. So we'll have to see on that one.
Right. Do you know when the playgrounds, children's playgrounds will open up, Derek?
So yellow is when you can open up. And then at that point, like you mentioned, it would be up to the organization to decide when do you want to, but I anticipate yellow. We'll see those come back online.
Okay.
The biggest thing is just the inability to sanitize them. And if people have that expectation, there's really no way for Jason's crews to keep up with, you'd have to sanitize it after every user. So it would be in yellow.
Okay.
Do we know where we can get the guidelines for the different categories? Like what does red look like versus orange versus yellow? Is that
I
available?
emailed that to you in an attachment.
Yeah, I have it and I'm looking at it and it doesn't really, so yellow must be low risk.
Yes.
I'm looking at it and I can't tell the difference. In fact, I read all the way through it before. I couldn't tell the difference between yellow and orange on the list. They're identical.
I think, yeah, and, well, this is being recorded. Anyway, I think the governor is leaving wiggle room for the cities to kind of interpret the difference between yellow and orange on their own. He's one of the only governors that didn't issue a stay-at-home order. It was a stay-at-home directive. And so he's given each city organization the ability to kind of make this fit the community's needs and then also address the liability factors that go along with reducing the restrictions.
Okay. So yeah, I read this through and I didn't realize, anyway, I wasn't sure if it was orange and yellow, but I understand now.
So yeah,
about-
read it good because the next version's supposed to come out this weekend. So you'll have to reread it all again. So.
Right. And I am not, and this I will say, and if it goes to the governor, it's okay. But he's the only one that makes announcements on Friday afternoon. And then it would be nice if, I don't know how Derek and everybody feels, but I'd rather have him say these things on Monday or Tuesday so you knew what to prepare for. But he kind of opens things up or makes a change on Fridays, which is difficult sometimes. Anyway.
Do we know what category would require to open the pool, not just for lap swimming, but just the swimming pool? Is that also yellow?
Yes, in yellow, you can there's still a lot of restrictions on that. We anticipate we'll be able to have about 75 people in the free swim areas. So, but yeah, in yellow, you can open those.
Okay.
Yep. So we've covered the rec center, the playgrounds, the parks, and the pool, and the youth programs, sports programs. So I got to see Jason and his crew every day for about 2 weeks at Quail Cove, social distancing and pouring concrete, and doing curb and gutter, and all sorts of landscaping with shrubs that have been there for 90 years and the trees and stuff. Anything else going on at Quail Cove?
Just plugging away on that entrance. It's been kind of frustrating. I wish I would have had it done about 3 weeks ago, but try not to make excuses, but had a third of my staff cut and that really hurt. So we're trying to just maintain plus do these extra projects. And so I'm hoping by the end of next week, we'll have sod down and plants planted in that center section going around the little roundabout drive approach there. So I'm hoping to have that wrapped up, like I said, next week. And then we're working on a nice sign that's going to go right in that area also. But I think the curb and gutter really worked out well. It opened that area up and just cleaned everything up right there. It's I think it'll end up being a good project once we can get on it and get it finished. So
yeah, it looks nice. Tell me, does the city I mean, do you have volunteer workers that can do stuff like that as long as they're supervised?
You know, we haven't had a whole lot, like, I use, in years past, I do dozens of Eagle Scout projects. I haven't had one yet this year. It's hard to tell if it's more virus or just the church going away from Eagle Scouts or from Scouts in general. But other than someone working off some community service hours, or we can get the sheriff's work diversion, we really don't have a whole lot. So, the street department, they're the one that did all the prep work on that and facilitated all the pouring of the curbing and repairing the asphalt and that. So we appreciate their help. They help us out a lot with those kind of items. And so that's where we're at. Yeah. Just bringing some more topsoil, get it leveled with some sod and some plants, and should be able to wrap that up.
All right. And then I think Camden indicated the bathroom wasn't going to happen this year because of the funding being
Correct.
over. I mean, he sent us all an email, I believe, with the grid attachment and then an explanation of why the top 3 projects for the park tax, at least, were art dye continuation, the boat harbor, which gets outside funding separate from park tax or just city funds, some county fund or whatever, and then the library issue.
So how did Scott, how did they decide upon the library expansion?
The explanation was that all of our projects were over $100,000, and by the time the park tax committee met, there had already been a cut in funding because of the COVID virus, which impacts everybody's budget and impacted the income going into the park tax fund. And then the park tax committee wanting to spread the whatever money's out amongst parks and trails and the library arts. That's in a nutshell what I got from the email he sent.
Okay, because this is the first time I've even heard about the library children's room expansion. Like, I haven't even heard about that.
Well, last year they did some preparation work and did some architectural plans and things. So to continue with that, this is the next step.
Okay.
But
And
I
then,
guess I'm trying to figure out how, like, if we're on this committee, how do we not know about this?
it's because we're not the park tax committee. We, and I think as much as possible, Camden's made us aware of some of the other budget items or proposals to the park tax citizens committee. I'm not sure he was fully aware of that specific project or what the other proposals were. I know he knew of some of them, but I'm not sure if he knew specifics about that one.
And maybe I'm not understanding the question, but the library, so that was a separate application. So Jason didn't apply for that one. That came
Right.
from the library specifically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, within the city, each, like Derek applied for separate items, we applied for separate, and
Right.
as I understand, Derek, none of Derek's items were funded at all. So it was kind of a rough year.
Well, it seemed like Camden, when he mentioned the list of items he'd submitted, there were so many items on the list that there's not a very good chance of getting the 3 that we recommended funded, because there were so many to choose from. So
We didn't even get our trees, benches, and garbage can line item. That's about a $20,000 line item. We didn't even get that.
Barbara,
Yes.
any counsel on that from city council?
Well, the council has not voted yet, so we can still change what the committee recommended, but we're just talking now about the recommendations of the committee.
Yeah, this isn't, none of this has been approved by the city council yet. And they get a list of what the park tax citizens committee proposes as their priority items, but then they'll also be made aware of all the other proposals. So they'll be fully knowledgeable of what's out there and what's been requested when they make a final vote. Right, Barbara?
Yes.
Okay. I guess, like just looking at the 3 things that were recommended, like if there's any possibility of like, if the boat harbor, if they decide to not fund that or match funds, I just think it would be really nice to get that bathroom in Quail Cove again. I know it probably feels like we're beating a dead horse, but it just seems like, I don't know, like we're going to get in trouble with ADA, Americans with Disabilities not having a handicapped accessible restroom in a public place, So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. I mean, I love parks. I love rec. I love the rec center. I would love to put some more into the rec center. But every time I go to Quail Cove, I'll be there again this summer with my boy, but every time I go to Quail Cove, I'm like, I don't know how we're not in trouble from ADA with this. I don't know how we're getting away with not having this have a wheelchair accessible bathroom in it. I don't know how we haven't gotten a lawsuit or anything else like that. So
A lot of it has to do with it's not a new structure.
okay.
So the ADA applies to new, and it was passed back in the 80s, I think, but it applies to new structures. So anything that's built new, if they don't make a ramp or an elevator or some kind of way for a disabled person to access the building, then they would get fined. But because the amphitheater obviously isn't new construction, it would be nice, and I agree the need is there. We had that's probably the biggest, or it is the biggest response we've had from other citizens as far as the need goes. But it's not anything that holds the city out liability wise for not having that.
Actually, Scott, it does, because there is a bathroom that is accessible there up top for able-bodied people. If there wasn't a bathroom available, they wouldn't have any liability issue. But because there is one that's available and accessible to those who are able-bodied, and there is not to those that are handicapped, they would be liable.
Well, and we've discussed this before, but the one up on top, if you park up on top, it is accessible for a disabled person.
Then that person can't get down to the facility. They'd have to drive around.
I know, I understand. I'm just saying that the bathroom on top is accessible to a person with disability if they're on the top. And it's not that it would be, I think it would have been probably a lawsuit 15 years ago or whenever they started the weekly concerts up there. If anybody caught wind that there was a possibility to sue to get that taken care of, it would have happened. And it's the way that the American ADA Act is written. And it's because everything up there is existing, and the existing bathroom on top is accessible to people with disabilities. It's just not, the way to get there isn't easy if you're down on the bottom or in the amp.
Hey, Scott, can I maybe it'll change this conversation quite a bit.
Yes.
I just got a text from Camden that said the park committee is changing their recommendation from the boat harbor to the Quail Cove restroom and funding Derek's scoreboards that he applied for at Beehive Park.
All right. Yay.
So
That's great
They're
news.
gonna
Now-
use that money that it could have had in grant for the boat harbor.
Sorry, we couldn't hear you well, Peter. It was garbled.
I said, so then they're gonna lose the grant money that was available for the boat harbor.
I don't know. I'm not high up on the ladder as far as that goes. I'm not sure how all that works. Maybe Barbara could answer that better. Of course, the council still needs to approve that recommendation.
I'll tell you, the council the other night was quite reluctant about the boat harbor, trying to figure out how many of our residents use that compared to Quail Cove. And we said Quail Cove is a lot more used by the residents and a lot more important to them. So maybe that's why the Park Tax Committee is reconsidering.
But your point, Peter, is well taken because of the funding part where I don't know if this cancels that grant money out, then yeah.
Is used. I was just at the boat harbor this
So there was a lot of factors in play with the boat harbor, and Camden made a lot of applications for different funding sources, and a lot of them are matching, and it's going to take kind of a perfect storm to get all the money together at the same time and make it happen. So I don't think the funding's gone yet from those grants. It's just to see what's going to be able to be
the
put
boat harbor
together.
actually is heavily used, and I think it's heavily used by citizens of American Fork as well, not just outside.
Hey guys, if everyone will mute that's not talking, you won't get that reverb.
Someone has to talk though.
Yeah, somebody has to talk.
Well, let's try Peter talking so we can
Yep.
see what he said.
What I heard was his thought that the boat harbor.
Yeah, that would be really a shame to lose that money. We're always talking about how we'd like to do more. We just don't have the money to do more. And the boat harbor still.
Peter, just so you know, I'm showing it says Joan Family Network bandwidth is low.
And the boat harbor is heavily used. I've been up there several times this year. Can you hear me? So I was just saying that the boat harbor is heavily used. I've been out there several times this year, and depending on the day and time, there's a lot of the parking spots. Is this breaking down? Can you hear me?
It still shows that there's a problem with your bandwidth, but you're breaking up quite a bit.
I know the council was going to look at statistics about the boat harbor and how much usage it does get and from whom.
So I can tell you a little bit about who's using the Bull Harbor. Peter's right. There's definitely a ton of people down there this year. I mean, on a Wednesday, we're doing over $1,500 in sales, which is something we'll barely see on a Memorial Day weekend or a 4th of July weekend. There's definitely some need down there for a new parking lot. It's in very poor shape. I looked at our sales from 2019. We sold 122 season passes. 71 of those were non-residents. So as far as the season passes go, there were more non-residents buying them than residents, but that doesn't indicate that you don't have as many people from this AF coming down and just launching their boat or fishing or picnicking or doing whatnot. So that's just one indicator there.
All right, I don't know if anybody else is getting anything from Peter. I know he has something to say, but it keeps breaking up on my end. What about everybody else?
I can't hear anything he's saying either.
Yeah, I can't hear him either. Sounds like a robot and then disappears. So.
All right, Nathan, are you on? I think I heard Nathan.
So I disconnected and now I'm back in. Is this better?
Peter, you're still frozen and kind of breaking up. Well, now you're moving.
Move to a different part of the house. Is this better?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, good. Good. So sorry, I got disconnected in this part of it. I was just saying that I think the boat harbor, am I disconnected?
You might want to go in the front room.
No, you're still there.
Okay.
You're still there.
Okay. I'm still here. Okay. I'm gonna move again. But I was saying the Bull Harbor is heavily used. I've been there several times in the last couple of weeks, and there's a lot of people out there. I know that people pay for annual passes, or they pay for day passes to go and use that facility. And if it would help our city we could generate more money and help the citizens by improving that facility. It doesn't make sense to lose that opportunity. Did everyone hear me?
Yes, I heard that.
So Peter, are you suggesting that we just charge more money for people to use the boat harbor so it becomes a money maker for us? Because right now it doesn't seem like it's a money maker. And, Jason was just saying that most of the passes are sold to non-residents.
Oh, I didn't hear that most of the passes were sold to non-residents. I understand that that is our only park, that is our only recreation opportunity in the city, including the rec center, that funds itself, that pays for itself. And so it'd be well worth it to improve it and make it an opportunity to get more people in there. It would also benefit. It would also benefit the citizens as well.
I don't think by changing the funding right now is giving up on the dream of improving the place. I think it might be just those logistics of Camden trying to get all the pots of money together at the same time. And then the park and some of the input from some of the council was, where's the most kind of bang for the buck? What's the best investment of this park tax money for our citizens? How are the most American Fork residents going to get to benefit from the money right now? And I think the restroom and playground and the other things that we're looking at, we're going to do that right now. Again, not giving up on the dream of the boat harbor.
Another item that we did have on the list was the trail that would help connect the Southwest community that's growing extremely fast right now. Connect them to, I believe, Rotary Park, and at least give them something that they could play, that they could do. Lisa mentioned that she's had youth in her neighborhood that have her kids and others, that the park has been a real need for them. This community out here has the same need. The youth and the kids, they need a good place to go, and they need good access to be able to do that.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't know if the boat harbors the trail, what it was going to connect down under the overpass. I think that was the first section we were going to do, if I remember right. That's what we asked for funding for. So it'd run from Rotary Park on 4th South to 1st East, and then under the overpass. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't remember the dollar figure on that. I didn't think it was that much, but I don't know where it was on the final list, or where the Citizens Committee, Park Tax Citizens Committee put that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on this committee many years, and I've had several times where it feels like we're getting progress. We're going to be doing something for the citizens in the Southwest section, and then something else takes its place. And I hear what you're saying, Derek, that there's, at some point it's going to happen, but not like this. It's not. It just keeps on getting moved. The can keeps on getting kicked, and it's never going to happen. It's going to be too late if we don't do something. Did I disconnect again?
No, you're on there.
I guess I'd just say again, I don't think the city's not wanting to do anything on the south side of town, let alone the boat harbor. I think it's just looking at available funding right now. What can we do right now? But definitely there's still work going on getting parks down there, getting trails down there. Those aren't going away. And so I know the city's still working on that. And I know that's what we keep saying and you keep hearing, but in the right time, those things are going to happen.
Well, I know that Camden has also been working on getting grant money for trails. There's a lot of grant money available for trails, but he wasn't able to get it this year.
Right.
And his hope was to obtain some of those funds for next year. And if that's the case, if we get grant money to match what we have, we could potentially do a lot more of those trails next year than what we recommended for this year. So that's our hope. And then with the Bar Harbor too, that grant money that was, it's not that we're losing that grant money. It's possible, from what I understand, it's possible to get that in the future as well, and maybe more because we have more time to prepare and apply for more grants at one time. Is that right, Derek, from what you understood?
Yeah, and so that's one of the things Camden's still working on is the county, if this is something they're committed to, they're gonna still put money towards it. It's not, it's not gonna go away because we can't use it right now. The mayor's going back trying to see, can we turn it into a 3-year grant, which would give us more time to prepare, get more funding set aside. It happened really fast, and the city wasn't necessarily prepared to get that much money. So it'll give us more time to come up with our share.
Hey, Scott, just
Yeah.
a side note, it would be great if Camden could be at our meetings. And if we constantly have the conflict with the Parks Committee meeting, maybe we could change our meeting so he could be here to better inform us.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, I think I talked to you, but it seems like the Citizens Park Committee is a moving target because we purposely went from the third Wednesday to the second Wednesday because we were hitting on the third Wednesday. And I don't know if this is an unscheduled meeting that he's attending or whatever, but
I think it is.
yeah.
Well, they just keep happening though, when honestly, I feel like he should be at our meeting, whether that means we move our meeting, and that's fine, but it's happened so many times. It's hard, and I think it puts Derek and probably Jason in a hard spot to report on something that they're truly maybe not as knowledgeable in a respectful way about, or maybe we get frustrated really not having all the information because we don't have the information person there constantly.
No, I agree. The other thing though, and this, we need to kind of hit on this a little bit again, from our meeting in March, which was kind of a training meeting. And Camden asked me how that went, and he kind of heard it went pretty good, but I told him it didn't go all that good because our committee makes recommendations. The city council listens. We have a member of the city council that sits on our committee, and and Barbara, I assure you, takes what we want to have happen back to the city council. But what really hits home with the city council, especially when there's an existing disagreement or a current disagreement with the existing master plan, is to have a large citizen show, which might not be possible anymore with the virus situation now, but it used to be they'd have one spokesperson and then they would have the whole city council chamber filled with people, standing room only. That person would get up and say, this sucks for us, and I know it sucks for you, Peter, and I feel for you. But they get up and they say, this is, we're on the south side, we're a growing part of your community, and we have no park space. We have no easily accessible park space. And the park space we thought we had is mostly wetlands that are protected. And we want something done. And when you show up like that at a city council meeting, it has more direct impact on getting the city council to make a more immediate change than going through the process of having input on the master plan and what we want it to look like in the future. And Barbara can pipe in on that, or whoever, but that's the best way to get things changed immediately.
I'd add one more caveat to that. Come with a plan and people to work the plan. Show that you're willing to put your feet where your mouth is and put some work into it. I've seen that numberless times when somebody says, we want a park here, and they're willing to go out and put in the sod and they're willing to clear the brush and everything. That that's worked several times that I know of. Don't just say this is what we want, but this is how we propose to help get it. Because it really is important to us.
Okay, thanks for those comments. I guess it's easy to see that if you look at the direction where money goes in the community, there's impact fees leaving the Southwest and going to the East and Northeast. And so the frustration there, I think, mostly is related to getting funding in an equal direction. And I hear you that it would be nice if we had a lot of volunteers that were willing to give their time.
Yeah, and
We're getting zero funding out in this direction. And that's a major problem.
well, I know when you look at some of the projects, you see water lines going in the Northeast, but they're transmission lines in order to get the water to the Southwest, to the new developments there. So it's not just where things happen, but what they serve too.
And I understand that's a good comment. There should be impact fees specific towards those that piping, correct?
No, impact fees are not designed specifically for certain projects or
So
certain.
I think we talked about it in the last meeting. We talked more about it, and there is an impact fee specific to parks. There's an impact fee specific to the impact fees are categorized.
They're categorized that way, but not to parks on the south compared to parks on the southeast or whatever.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But each impact fee is designed specifically for police or fire or water, parks, things like that. Yes, they are very separate
Right.
funds.
And of course, the impact fees that are being charged to new houses in new areas is because if there's a park impact fee towards those units, it's because the city knows that they have a responsibility to provide parks to those homes and to those members of the city.
Yes, we're just saying that there's a certain level of service that, I'll say in the year 2000, certain level of service, certain amount of parks per resident or acres of park per resident. Don't I wish? Anyway, per 1,000 residents or something. And the more residents you have coming in, unless the new residents pay, the old ones are going to be losing the standard that they had. So it goes both ways.
Okay. I mean, it feels like this is again, I'll just re-say it. It feels like each year we talk about things that could be done in the developing area of American Fork, the Southwest, and the can just keeps getting kicked. But I'm hopeful that next year we'll get a lot of projects funded for the Southwest.
We are
For the new developing areas.
We are definitely looking that direction, looking for some land. I'm not privy to all the things, and the ones I know about, I can't talk about specifically, but we're looking at property there for parks. It just takes time. And I know because I moved here in 1986, the second time I moved here. No, 1978, take it back. And we were told there would be a bridge going from across the river so the kids here could get to the high school. It's very close, but you can't get here from there. It took 20 years to get that built. These things take time, unfortunately, but it doesn't mean they're not important.
And I get in your voice that, in your opinion, that probably should have happened sooner.
Well, we all wish it had happened sooner, but you know, when you look at everything going on. Your family budget, can you buy everything that you want?
No, I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also like to distribute the funds throughout the whole family and not just in one specific area.
Yeah, I agree. And you go by a matter of need too. If you need a refrigerator, your new car has to wait for a little while. Your fridge won't last another day.
When we talk about a specific area though, I mean, north of I-15, that's a very large area. That's 95% of American Fork that we're trying to take care of and update and do these projects with. So, I mean, in my opinion, a lot of these projects that have to happen on the south side of town, these go beyond park projects. I mean, the money's needed for these projects goes way past, you know, what we're trying to do with the park program. That's just my 2 cents
Right.
there.
It needs to be a city focus and it needs to go on the master plan. But just to Peter's point, and I made this point back in March, but where I live on the south part of, just south of Main Street, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one really substantial park, Rotary Park, within 3 or 4 blocks of my house. And so I think this is where the master plan comes in, but there's been a gap. And there, you know, in the past, the city forefathers, whatever, I'm going to preach my history lesson here, saw some wisdom in setting aside park space when developers came in or when people built houses back then or whatever. The city saw wisdom in putting parks more frequent than they are. And I'll point to the new development up just north of the temple, is there's no park there. And, you know, at some point over the past 5 or 10 years, whenever that development was approved, somebody said, the park north of there, what the heck's the name of it?
Val Vista.
Val Vista. Val Vista can serve that large community. And it can't. There's no easy way for a kid to ride a bike up there when he's 8, 9 years old. He's got to take North County Boulevard right on the sidewalk, then make a right at the light, and then make a left to get up to Val Vista. And that's where I think the frustration comes is, I know there's been a gap in maybe foresight in the past, and I know it's difficult to change direction. Like you can't make a U-turn on a dime with the way government works. And it's unfortunate, but these things, I think, and this is where our input comes on the master plan. This is where our committee fits in, is getting the city currently to look at these things and say, you know, yeah, the developer's gonna be mad because they're gonna lose a couple $1 million because they got to give up 10 acres for a park or 5 acres for a park or whatever. But we want quality people to move into these neighborhoods, and we know the value of a park in those type of developments. And
So-
anyway, that's where we're at kind of, and I understand Peter's frustration.
Well, I agree. I totally want parks on south of the freeway. You know, I agree.
Yeah.
You know, right now, how do we acquire that land? I'm just saying, you know, if we took all the money available from the park tax and tried to buy some acreage on the south side of town, on a good year, we're going to get 3 acres out of all that money.
Right.
It's
No,
nothing.
and
And so I'm just saying it goes I think this conversation needs to go above and beyond the park tax program and try and, like you're saying, go to city council. That's where it happens. I always tell the story back in 1997, the people around the JC Park National League were supposed to host the WBBA World Series in 1998, and that whole hillside was weeds. They went and hounded and hounded and hounded. Next thing you know, we worked all summer long and got that hillside prepped and ready to go for the World Series, which was happening in August. That's where the power is. I'm just saying, trying to get it out of the park taxes with all this competition and for the funding, it's pretty futile. It's, you know, so.
Right.
Just to say one thing, Scott, you mentioned earlier, Camden asked how that meeting went with David. It's hard because we use the word master plan, but there's no master in it.
No,
He very frankly said to us, with every city council, with every mayor, with changing needs of time, that master plan changes.
right.
And
Right.
we tried to ask, is there any way to even keep a general theme or a general goal or perspective that can carry over throughout administration changes? And when he said no, it was like, okay. And that's why you have, 20 years to make a bridge, or 20 years to get Hindley paved, or Quail Cove that's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. I think that's probably what is maybe frustrating, Peter. Yes, is you've been on for years, and we're not even sure if administration's goals, not even what they can or can't do, but if their perspective or goals aligns with what the community is suggesting, or what we'd like to even see in the future. I think knowing Jason, well, knowing all of them, yeah, of course they want parks in the South, but like a family, unless you set a goal and work towards it, it never happens.
Thanks, Lisa. I think that's spot on. I think since I've been here, it's talked about we've wanted, but we've never really prioritized. We've never said, no, we are going to say this is more important than this. We've always said that this is less important, and it's time to change that mentality.
Well, and I don't think the committee's done that. I think we put the trail was number 2 on our list when we forwarded it. And
I think we said number 1. What I recall, we could go back to notes, but I recall it number 1.
Yes.
And now it's not even being presented as our number 1.
Well, no, it was presented as our number 1 to the Park Tax Citizens Committee. I saw the list, and I saw the grid that was given to the Park Tax Committee by Camden, and it was number 1. I knew it was one of the top 3, but then the Park Tax Committee puts our requests that Derek and Jason are aware of, along with the arts requests that we're not aware of, along with the PARC, arts, recreation, and culture. Thank you, Barbara. Anyway, then the Park Tax Committee looks at those and then reprioritizes everything. But that's why the city council gets all the lists that went forth, and they have a chance to review what the Park Tax Committee has suggested, and then they make the final vote. And we do not, other than like appearance at city council meetings as a small community, as a subdivision or whatever, or as representing what our Parks and Rec committee would like for 2 minutes in the public statement. That's the impact we can have on the city council. And Lisa's right. We don't know exactly, what the city council as a body is thinking, other than what Barbara tells us. And she's told us that they are aware of the need on the South, and that they're keenly aware, and they are looking for land. To Jason's point, there isn't a lot of money, and the land down there is sky high. I mean, the church, honestly, I'm pretty sure the church had land there because there was a building scheduled to be built until they probably got a pretty penny for it from Amazon. And I'm not saying the church was wrong in doing that, because I'm sure they made a good profit, and they probably will have money to build a church somewhere else. But I know that happened. And those are just things that happen. And we don't have control as a committee over all of those things. All we can do is forward our suggestions and try to put as much oomph behind them as we can. and make sure they understand that this is the #1 priority and this is the #2 if we have to go just to 2 priorities each year. But that's about all we can do, and show up at city council meetings.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, no, I think you hit it right on. I'm just reiterating that. Sorry, I got a lot of background noise. I'm just reiterating that it's time to change some priorities. And if I do have to go to the city council meeting to help align those priorities, I guess that's what I'll have to do. It doesn't seem like I should have to do that, but I can do that. I can try to get different HOA board members involved in these communities and things like that. I speak my voice, and I don't think it's being heard well enough to prioritize what needs to happen with this community down here.
Right, and I agree. But back to our committee, I mean, your voice is heard on our committee, and I think everybody understands that. I think everybody understands the problems down on the south end. It's just when we send our minutes to Terrell Lynn at the city, she logs them, they're reviewed, and Barbara, as a single voice on the city council, says the Parks and Rec committee are really, really concerned with the south end, the lack of park space, usable park space, and there isn't anything planned in the future either. We need to do something about it. It's one voice, and even though she represents us, that's different than having you as a spokesperson and 30 homeowners in your area show up at a city council meeting and say the same thing, with all of them nodding their heads, yes, he's right. Because I've seen the impact that has historically when I've been to city council meetings, and that has a really deep impact. And like Barbara said, with some sort of plan.
Let's see. I just wanted to say too, is that yes, there is a master in the master plan. It is not changed willy-nilly. We don't just go in and say, oh, let's focus on the west side this year and change the thing. It goes through a lot of study, a lot of analysis, a lot of understanding before anything is changed in the master plans. It's not just a whim that makes those changes, but we have to take into consideration all the people in the community.
All right. I am sorry we're at 7:09, and I am going to just ask Jason real quick about Evergreen Park. Was that just sprinkling system that went in over the summer, or were you getting set up for the fountains?
So that's a new irrigation system that went in. It's very needed. Had a contractor put in. They took about a month longer than we would have hoped, but they finally got it in. We got water on. Now we have to go through and just do some trench repair and get some grass back in those trenches, and we'll be back in business. That's going to help us immensely, and it's going to be a lot more efficient way to water that park and take care of it. So that's where we're at with that.
Okay. And the whole splash pad and the big park has kind of been pushed off the table because of the budgetary concerns and everything?
I wasn't aware of a splash pad going in there. We were looking at putting a bigger playground there, but yeah, that's not happening.
Okay, not that that's a good thing, but it gives time to maybe reevaluate where that might be best put in.
My opinion is you know, I would love to see over one big one, I guess. You know, from a maintenance guy, from the standpoint, I'm looking at these playgrounds that are 15 years old and actually have just gone out of warranty, and trying to maintain those and and keep them safe and keep them up to date. You know, as many new ones as we can get put in, you know, is kind of my my philosophy, but you know, we'll take whatever we can get. So.
Right. Okay. I'm going to have to jump off here in a minute, or if there's nothing else, we can move to adjourn. Does anybody else have anything?
You're on mute.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the next meeting's on June 10th, I think. Is that right?
Yes.
All right, June 10th, maybe we can all meet together and sit 10 feet apart in a pavilion in one of the parks. What do you think?
Great idea.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.